What's up, you guys? We're finally doing this Q&A. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, you should be, because that is where I put my Q&A prompt in my Insta story. So go ahead and follow me at Quaddis Queen on Instagram if you're not already. Without further ado, let's get into these questions. Just so you know, I screenshotted the shorter, sweeter questions so that we can just kind of scroll through those. You can get my raw, honest reaction. And I did scroll through and handpicked a few of the deeper questions that I wanted to kind of write my answer out on pen and paper and do more of a deeper dive on those. So we'll get to those at the end. This is, one of my first YouTube videos, so just go ahead and hang in there with me. I know that my videoing skills are not that elite, and neither will my editing skills be, so we're in this journey together. Let's get into it. Alright, let's start with some of the shorter, more lighthearted questions. Starting with my favorite artist to listen to. Right now, I don't really have a specific favorite. Honestly, I listen to a lot of different genres. I would say mostly rap and country. So I picked out a few. Rap right now, this is really random, but I've been listening to a lot of Big X The Plug. I don't know why, but that's all I've been listening to in the gym. I really like the song Texas by him. Country, Zach Bryan. For my Christian genre, I would say Lauren Daigle and Elevation Worship. How do you manage or prevent knee pain / discomfort while lifting heavy weights? Well, I actually just dealt with my first, not injury, but I guess like nagging pain this year that was knee related. It was actually from my IT band though. I think that was the cause or the root of it. The pain was in my quad though. When I sent my coach a video, she told me that I was having issues with external rotation of the knee. So to fix this, I started to really focus on warming up. And when I'm lunging or squatting, I was always making sure mentally I'm thinking about the external rotation of my knee and trying to get my right knee, that's the one that was bothering me, to track over my pinky toe. I hope that helps you. But for me, it took about 6 months of really paying attention to stretching and warming up and kind of retraining that path or the travel path of my knee to fix the issue. Do you have any advice for Army female height and weight? I lift and the Army doesn't like it. Girl, I was in the Army and I feel your pain. I think from the moment I joined, like literally what it's called, MEPS? I can't remember. But literally from the second that I joined to my very last PT test, I was height and weighted my entire Army career. So my advice to you is, unfortunately, just stay within your limits. Like, I literally got as big as I possibly could, but my measurements were fine. So just make sure that you're keeping those ratios in mind. If you don't know what your limits are, go ahead and look that up. But yeah, the number one thing that they prioritize is being fast over being strong. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. When did you start, and what / who made you start going to the gym? Well, I've been an athlete my whole life. I played soccer. I think I was 5 when I started playing until I was 19, before I joined the Army. So that's kind of what got me into fitness. And then I think my biggest motivator during that time was my dad. But I actually didn't start lifting until my first and only year of college. We had, I think during our off season, we had like a strength and conditioning coach. And that was my first time ever stepping foot into a gym. And I was just like, I loved it because I just remember being one of the stronger girls and it was super empowering. And I was just like, wow, this is, I love this. Didn't really think much about it until about a year later I joined the Army and I became a medic, and I wanted to be a line medic. I was hell bent on being a line medic, and I ended up doing it. But one of my biggest motivators to get back in the gym was obviously most of my peers were men, and I did not want to feel like I was a liability or that I couldn't keep up with them when it came to carrying patients. I didn't want one of them to be afraid for their lives if we deployed and stuff like that. So that started my journey with lifting again. I got into CrossFit, which was fun, whatever, and did a little bit of Olympic lifting. Loved that. And then the fire kind of died out again, and I got out of the military and I moved home temporarily to Ohio, which is kind of like, I feel like the mecca for bodybuilding, and made some friends and like, yo, you would do really well in wellness. So I thought about it for a while and sort of started training like a wellness athlete, and then realized my potential as a wellness athlete and got serious about it. And so I hired a coach, and here we are. Okay, next question. Okay, this question says, what do you focus on a diet? Oh, what do you focus on in a diet to get shredded and not just skinnier? That's a really good question. So I think the biggest factor here when you're trying to get shredded and not just skinnier is making sure that you are still training, you are still intaking enough protein and enough calories, but you are still in a calorie deficit. I want to caveat this with another question. Somebody asked, any tips for getting shredded? In that calorie deficit, just make sure that you're not dropping off calories too quickly, because then your body will plateau, because all the nutrients that you're taking in, your body's gonna want to hang on to that if you're going into like starvation mode, and you're just not gonna see any results anymore. So make sure that slow and steady wins the race. What's your favorite part about your entire fitness journey? I would honestly say, like, the point that I'm at now, I never imagined that I would ever get to this point, that I would ever invest in a camera or make a YouTube channel or have the following that I do. And I don't even feel like I've really put, like, I love you guys, but I don't feel like I put that much effort into it. And I'm just now starting to do that. So, like, that's crazy to me. The people that I've met, the connections that I've made, it's been amazing. So yeah, that's been my favorite part. Also, having others like share their journey with me and seeing how I've impacted them, that has meant a lot to me. Goal for this upcoming prep. My goal is to be 100% locked in. I feel like I'm the type of person that does well under pressure. I thrive under pressure, and I love that feeling. Honestly, just to knock it out of the park. Like, I have one under my belt and I know how it feels. I would say my number one goal is to not let myself to go to such a dark place as I did last time. I feel like I wasted a little bit of my energy focusing on how I felt too much. And I actually follow this other wellness pro, and she was talking about in prep how, like, you will believe whatever you tell yourself. So if you're telling yourself, oh, I feel like shit, I don't want to do this, I'm tired, like, I'm sick of this food, you're gonna make it miserable for yourself. But almost like in the military, we learn like fake motivation is better than no motivation. And that's so true, because like, even if you do have fake motivation, it, like, just the way that your brain is wired, you like will start to believe those things. If you're telling yourself like, okay, I'm excited about this day, I'm excited to get my steps in, like, I get to do this, you know, no one's putting me through this, I decided that I wanted to do this. So How old are you? I am 25, about to be 26. My birthday's May 15th, so coming up. Are you natty? No, I'm not. But I know that everybody, this is gonna stir the pot. Everyone's about to freak out because I finally came out and said this. No, I'm not. It doesn't mean that I, owe you an explanation of everything that I'm on, but clearly you can look at me and be like, if you actually have knowledge, you know that I'm not doing a lot of shit. So just know I started not being natty, my unnatural journey, like a year ago. No, right before my first prep. So when was that? August of last year. Yeah. Words out. Somebody asked me for my split, or they said, how long do you train specifically for wellness? I guess the best way to answer this is by giving you my split and just telling you that, I've been training for wellness specifically now for 3 years. I've been lifting for like 7+ years, but wellness specifically focused for 3. Right now, let me pull up my little app from my coach. My split is glute, hams, full lower, quads, glute, ham, and that's it for the off season. That's my split. Right. What was the feedback from your last show? 2 things I got were when I was doing my back pose, I was leaning too far forward and the judge told me that it was taking away from the fullness of my glutes. The other thing I was doing was when I was in my front pose, my back leg was kind of bent, whereas it should have been straight. Her words are, "Girl, we know you got quads." And so she just told me, make sure that I'm straightening out that back leg so I can sit more into that hip and obviously get the fullness of the glute from the side, and to make sure that I'm pushing that knee outward as well in the front leg. So all posing related. What state do you live in? North Carolina. Did you ever see yourself as a bodybuilder before you became one? No. Actually, I spent a lot of my life trying to be the smallest version of myself. And I'm not really sure when it happened, but just I slowly started to realize that my body was not meant to be small. Like that saying, I've seen it on Instagram. It's like, you can't starve a pit bull to make it a chihuahua. And I was just like, dang, that is so true. And for some reason, eventually it just clicked. And obviously, like I fell in love with the gym. And then I saw my potential as a bodybuilder. And so I pursued that direction. Are you single? No, very much not. How long after your eating disorder did you feel comfortable to go into a prep, and how difficult was it? So I'm gonna do a separate video over my eating disorder so that we can really dive into it. But I'll kind of give you the short and sweet answer to that. It's I'm 25 now and just did my first show last year, and my eating disorder was I was like 16 or 17. And the reason I had an eating disorder was because I had lost my stepmom to cancer. Like I said, I'll do a separate video on that. It wasn't difficult for me heading into this prep. Actually, I would say it made it easier on me because my eating disorder was so much worse than I feel like what people would consider unhealthy in bodybuilding when you're dieting. So, and honestly, I was able to kind of separate my feelings towards food then compared to now. Whereas now I'm able to see food as fuel, and then I used to see food as the enemy. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I said, I always used to try to be the smallest version of myself. How many times a week do you work quads? Twice. Once on quad day, my nails are chipped. The other on my full lower. Someone said, what camera did you get? I have a Canon R6 and I love it. Welcome to the club. Thank you. I got a Sony A7 IV. I love it. Any tips on cutting while maintaining strength/muscle mass? Unfortunately, if you're cutting, you're going to lose strength and muscle mass, especially if you're cutting for a long period of time. I just encourage you to continue to get protein through whole foods and make sure that you're supplementing your vitamins and using creatine. What's your height? I'm 5'3". What is harder for you, a cut or bulking? 100% bulking. I think as a woman, gaining body fat is so much harder on us. And it's so much easier for me to gain weight than lose it. And I don't want that to happen, obviously. So, and there's nothing like being shredded. Like the feeling of being shredded is, in my opinion, fantastic. So yeah, bulking has been much harder on me. I also love cardio, and we've had to take that out or dial it back a lot, and that's been really hard on me too. Okay, so there were a couple of questions that were a little deeper, and I wanted to respond well to them because they mean a lot to me. So I did write my response here, so I'll be looking at it just so you know. First one is, how do you balance your faith and the strains of social media and society? So I went ahead and wrote down, ultimately, I keep my focus on what God thinks of me first and foremost. I know that I'm a sinner, and of course I fail him every day. But the most important thing to me is having a heart that is pleasing to him. I've already determined that if there ever comes a time where I need to stand alone in my faith in the future, in the spotlight for some reason, on social media, I will do that. And it definitely gets tricky, being a bodybuilder and posting my body online. But I see my athleticism as the greatest gift that God has given me. And I am sexualized, which I don't like, but I see it as I'm using my gift to the best of my ability. And the gym, health and wellness, and being able to share my journey is my ministry. So, yeah, next question. Kind of goes along with the first one. How do I block out the haters and stay true to myself? I'm not gonna lie, when I first started social media, I had such a difficult time with all the hate that I got. I don't think I was prepared for that, and for the amount of hate that I was going to get. But slowly I built up the confidence because I love going to the gym, and I saw other women posting the same things on social media and kind of getting the same hate that I do. I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Another thing is like, I feel like I've always been the type of person to go against the grain. That's not new for me. So for people to not like me it's not anything new. And then obviously, lastly, my true identity lies with Jesus. And I think that if you have Jesus in your heart, that you can conquer anything. And that's that.